Chapter 32. To Sea. That night, Zarpin found us a place to stay for the night. It was the seaman's hostel. The three of us stayed in one room. Huon and Elchie shared a bed and allowed the old man, me, to sleep alone comfortably. So much had happened in the last few days, my head was spinning. I couldn't sleep. My thoughts were on Miram. So many years ago, she had known that Zarpin would help us to get to Sade. Did she also know that Oren wouldn't be with us? I missed them both terribly. It made me think of Etuitude, too. I wondered if Oren was with her, as he had mentioned in his last words. I'm sure if he was happy. Before retiring, Elchie and I had discussed Zarpin's revelations. It had brought back memories to him, too. It also made him anxious to set off on the ship the next day. He had never been to sea, but since the days when we spoke of his brother at sea, he had yearned to go. Perhaps he would have the same feelings as his brother and Zarpin about the sea. I had never thought about it until that night. It was a long journey ahead of us. I wished it was over. I was tired, but I couldn't sleep. If it hadn't been for Elchie after Oren died, I don't know if I would have the strength to go on. I still felt such emptiness. That night I had a dream, if it really was one. I couldn't be sure. In it, Miram came to me. She told me that Oren was with her in Etuitude and they were happy there. She told me that she, Oren, and Etuitude would be with us and not to fear this journey. She also mentioned that we were in safe hands with Zarpin. Then she kissed me and was gone. The next morning, surprisingly, I felt refreshed, although I'm surely I only slept maybe an hour. Zarpin took us back to the cafe for breakfast before we began our busy journey. He had told Hunan where we could get the supplies, and we were off. We walked through the less attractive part of the city until we came to the building Zarpin had designated. Huan again went on without us as we stood outside waiting. Apparently the man knew Zarpin, and the arrangements were easily made. The man would deliver the goods to the ship that night. It was not unlike a seaman to live on their ships while the delivery of goods were loaded on their ship. Next we went to the docks where his ship had been docked. Unlike the first area we had been, there were no guards at a gate. Here there were smaller ships, and they were open to board. Zarpin's ship was a mid-sized wind ship. He had great sails which fluttered in the wind. I had never seen a wind ship, nor had Elchie. We were in awe of its beauty. It was made of wood and carefully carved in designs of the sea. It was a beautiful day. The sea was azure blue with a brisk, invigorating breeze. At that moment, I felt that this was going to be a wonderful voyage. Elchie and Hunan immediately fell in love with the ship. They had hopped on the ship and were running around its deck before I could even take a step. Zarpin extended me a hand to board the ship and proceeded to give me a tour, one that Elchie and Hunan were hardly able to slow down for. He had no problem in finding his crew, and the men worked on the sails as we walked around. Zarpin seemed much more energetic today than last night. Perhaps he really did get his energy from the sea. He laughed as he watched Elchie and Hunan inspect every little crevice. I felt wonderful, better than I'd felt in quite a while. I didn't know what it was, but I felt really good inside. I knew that everything was going to be all right. Zarpin gave me and the boys chores of cleaning the eating quarters. Elchie and Hunan volunteered to be our cooks for the journey since Zarpin had not filled that job. Zarpin showed the maps and our final destination. It was very interesting. In the records we had recorded some maps, but they weren't like the navigational maps he showed us. He told me of what to expect on the journey and to be ready for rough seas. Even the thought of rough seas didn't spoil the wonderful feeling that had possessed me that day. I felt that we could overcome anything. By the end of the day, the ship was ready to go. The boys prepared a marvelous farewell to Og dinner for us and the crew. After we were thoroughly stuffed, the supplies arrived and we proceeded to put them away. I was shocked at how much we had actually bought. We had only Atlatian money, and judging from what we got, it was able to go a long way. From what Zarpin said, with the wind that was up, we could drift out to sea undetected. Around midnight, the crew took their places and let the sails down and pulled up the anchor. I could feel the boat drifting little by little from the dock. As I stood on the deck, I could see the lights of Pico getting further and further away. It was lucky for us that there was no moon out that night, just clouds. The air seemed to get more moist as we floated out. As we drifted, the wind picked up more and more. So did our speed. It was an exciting feeling. Elchie and Huan felt it too. Elchie stood with Zarpin at the helm while Huan leaned over the sides, trying to see the water as it lapped up on the sides of the ship. None of us slept that night. We all stood on deck watching ourselves go further into the inky black before us. When the blackness started to fade and we could see an orange arch rising ahead of us, and as it got redder, the red dot of the sun rose in the sky. It was breathtaking. Zarpin came over and put his arm on my shoulder. This is part of what draws me to the sea. Have you ever seen anything more beautiful? No, I had to admit. I had never seen any sunrise so beautiful in my life. We were on our way. It was like a dream. It was an exciting trip for all of us. Zarpin taught me how to read maps. The boys soaked in about as much knowledge of the craft as they could. The sea seemed to agree with all of us. We had been at sea for weeks when in the middle of the night I was awakened by the ship being tossed around like a toy by the waves below. Quickly I ran to the deck to see what was going on. Zarpin and his crew were frantically trying to control the ship, which was being pounded with the water. The waves hurled over the sides. Then I thought of the boys and wondered where they were. Were they still in their beds? I fought my way to Zarpin to see if he had seen them. He told me that he had seen Elchi helping one of the men with one of the spars that held the sails. I looked frantically where he had indicated and could not find him. I asked if one of the men had seen him. Nobody had. Huon also could not be found. I searched their beds. They were gone. I was sure that they had been washed overboard. I was beside myself. I continued to search every inch of the ship, almost being flung off by the waves myself. Zarpin didn't appear to be worried, which did nothing but infuriate me. He seemed more interested in controlling the rocking ship. I was sure that I had lost my only two friends left in the world. After canvassing the deck of the ship over and over, I returned to scan the rooms below. As I was tearing through the rooms, shouting their names, I smelled food cooking. I went to the kitchen to find my lost boys preparing food for the men. All I could do was laugh. What is so funny? Elchi asked. I've been searching for you two for hours. I was sure that you were at the bottom of the sea by now. The men told us that storms like this happen, but rarely last more than a few hours, so we decided we would have food ready for them when they were finished. We knew they'd be hungry, Huon told me. I patted them both on the back. I'm grateful that you weren't washed over, and I'm very proud that you would think of the crew like this. Needless to say, the crew was grateful for the food being ready after the storm passed. It was as they said, it hadn't lasted more than a few hours. However, I did make the boys promise to let me know where they were if another one came up. In the weeks to come, we encountered a few more storms, but mostly we had a pleasant sailing. We thoroughly enjoyed our trip. The day came that we all waited for, the sign of land. The sun was going down. We knew that we would be there soon, but we didn't know exactly when. Elchi sat perched in the bird's nest above the sails for 2 days, waiting for the first sign of land. Suddenly his voice echoed over the ship. Land! We all came running to see. It was land. We all screamed with joy. We were finally there. We were finally in Sade.